So if you watched the latest episode of the Book of Boba Fett, you know that the Book of Boba Fett actually became The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian 2.5, kinda, because it's not Season 3 and it's not Season 2, it's in between. The return of The Mandalorian is basically what the Clone Wars animated show is to Episode 2 and Episode 3 of Star Wars. It fills in the gaps of what happened in between, and what happened in between is something very, very interesting to Star Wars fans. And it connected the Dave Filoni universe, the Filoniverse, or whatever you want to call it, because the Darksaber just connected Star Wars Rebels and The Mandalorian, if you want to call that, although I know technically it's Boba Fett's show. Right now we're at a crossroads of sorts, I think, but either way, the Darksaber getting heavier and heavier for Djarin has a lot to do with what we saw from SABINE Star Wars Rebels in the animated show that Dave Filoni helmed after Disney took over Star Wars. To start with, the fans actually didn't know the answer of did Djarin keep the Darksaber for himself after the Season 2 finale. He actually had no idea what happened with the Darksaber because Djarin did ultimately offer the Darksaber to Bo-Katan. However, Bo-Katan refused in the end, and as we see, she simply let Djarin go. She did not fight Mando for the Darksaber. You see, the Darksaber was first introduced into Star Wars mythology by the Clone Wars series. The Darksaber was a fabled weapon of the ancient Mandalorian Jedi Tar Vizsla, and we know that whoever holds the blade is de facto Mandalore's true ruler, even though now there is no more Mandalore because the Empire tore it to shreds. There still is a Mandalorian people. Prior to the Mandalorian series, however, the Darksaber only existed in animation form. We saw it in the Clone Wars and in Star Wars Rebels. The Season 1 finale of The Mandalorian showed that ultimately, in fact, it fell to the hands of Moff Gideon. But by the end of Season 2, Djarin defeated Moff Gideon in combat and therefore took the Darksaber for himself, not actually knowing the rules of it, and subsequently he became Mandalore for all intents and purposes. Even the armorer and Paz Vizsla are mesmerized when they first see the Darksaber, the saber that has inflicted this great wound upon Djarin. Immediately you can see that Paz Vizsla gets jealous, because as explained in the episode itself, Paz Vizsla is not a Vizsla by name only, he actually belongs to House Vizsla, and it is shown that he is directly connected to the bloodline of Tar Vizsla, the Mandalorian Jedi who created the Darksaber. Now that we know he is a true Vizsla, his house's dark history makes his hatred for the Empire even more personal and explains his natural pull to the Darksaber. Paz Vizsla doesn't want Djarin carrying it for his family. He thinks he should have it. And although we see Mando having trouble with the Darksaber being slow and getting heavier and heavier, as the armor explains it, he is fighting against the Darksaber and not against his opponent. We kind of see the same thing from Paz Vizsla as well. If you look at the duel after Paz Vizsla takes the Darksaber, he too, even though he is of grander stature, he is naturally bigger, he too still has problems with the Darksaber. It is heavier for him as well. So what exactly is this phenomena? What is happening that the Darksaber so much heavier than first anticipated? The answer was sort of told to Djarin by the armorer herself, who told Din that he is fighting against the Darksaber rather than fighting with it and against his opponent. But a much more detailed explanation is found in Star Wars Rebels Season 3, the episode titled Trials of the Darksaber, where Sabine Wren is training with the Darksaber for the very first time. Kanan Jarrus, a former Jedi, is her instructor. Once they start fighting, Sabine actually says that the Darksaber feels heavier than she thought. With this, Kanan immediately explains why. You see, according to a Jedi at one point in time, the Darksaber is considerably harder to wield than a lightsaber. Kanan goes on to tell Sabine that the energy constantly flows through the crystal. You're not fighting with a simple blade as much as you are directing a current of power. Your thoughts, your actions, they become energy. They flow through the crystal as well and become part of the blade. Basically, what Kanan is trying to tell Sabine here is that someone who lacks discipline and control will have a very hard time with the Darksaber. More importantly, acceptance of their thoughts and feelings. Now, we know two things by watching Djarin in this episode. One, he is not a lightsaber duelist. We have barely, if ever, seen him wield a proper saber. Yes, he fought Moff Gideon with the Beskar spear, but it wasn't a proper blade. Secondly, his emotions are all over the place. This episode shows that he misses Grogu that much that he cannot focus for himself. That's where the discipline is not there for Djarin. He clearly is in his thoughts, and that's why the Darksaber is getting heavier and heavier, because the moment it gets tough for Djarin, he is doubling down, therefore the Darksaber getting heavier and heavier because of his feelings for Grogu, because he lacks discipline and, first and foremost, training. It's interesting that he is going to find Grogu, who is being trained by Luke, because I have some thoughts about that. That Djarin, an untrained saber wielder, is going to meet Grogu and a Jedi. I'm going to make a separate video about that, but all in all, this is the main problem why Djarin cannot seem to focus in his training. To confirm what I just said, we go even further with the Armorer. When Djarin wants to train even more, he persists on it. The Armorer says to him that persistence is futile. She ultimately says, your body is strong, but your mind is distracted. See what I mean? His emotions are all over the place. He cannot focus, and therefore he cannot control the Darksaber, which is a current of power going through the crystal. It needs for your emotions to be in check in order to wield it. Very interesting to see these tidbits of details and to see how it differs from a ordinary lightsaber. Now we understand how hard was it for Han Solo to wield that lightsaber in Empire Strikes Back. Guys, let me know all of your thoughts down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed, leave a thumbs up down below, subscribe for dailies. Now you have an awesome day, Star Wars fans. I'll see you in the next video, and may the Force be with you. Until then.